Conversation with Ciagrs, the podcast where we talk about conversation, we talk about cigars, we talk about life, we talk about sports, we talk about men's health, we talk about everything on the planet that deals with us smoking cigars. I'm one of your hosts, Derek Mathis. This is one of my other hosts, Joe Grillo, Earl Vincent, and Derek Saddlebags. Man, but first, I gotta give a shout out to our sponsors, Gorilla Motors of Chicago, Illinois, and My Three Sons Cigars out of Detroit. To give you a little background on me, come from law enforcement background. I own a small trucking company, and I live Cross Point Farms here. So I've been a staple around here for the longest. I've been coming to Churchill's for about 7 years since the day was open. And prior to that, it was Robusto. Joe, what about you, man?
Let me just say I'm originally from Chicago, born and raised. Live a little north of the city, but my family right out of high school moved to Chicago. Moved to Grosse Pointe about 10, 11 years ago. Basically, I'm part of a family business, automotive, most of higher-end vehicles. What intrigued me when you asked me about Conversation Cigars and the podcast, I said, what's it about? You said, it's about whatever anyone wants to talk about. So I just thought that was a cool venue because it struck to the point of, I do like to travel everywhere I go. I go to sneak into a couple cigar lounges. I could say almost everywhere that I've met, it's always just been immediate people that smoke cigars. It's cool. It's a bonding, and it's just a cool thing to be part of. Anywhere I go, I like to do it. Met great people here, yourself, and I want to thank you for inviting me. I'm told through YouTube that we got to click a like.
Yeah, just hit that subscribe button.
Hit a subscribe, yeah. So we just want to remind you, if you want to be part of this, we welcome anyone to be part of this, either up here, or if you want to have a continued conversation about cigars and life, you can always find us somewhere right around here at the Great Churchill. So I'd like to introduce our next guest, host, Earl.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. I'd like to thank Derek, Joe, Saddlebags for the opportunity to sit down on this podcast and have some great conversations and smoke some great cigars. My name is Earl Vincent. I've been smoking cigars for about 5 to 6 years, and I got into cigars through a friend of mine that handed me one, and I smoked it and it came out pretty good, so I've been smoking ever since. I also am in the automotive industry. I've been doing automotive litigation for almost 40 years, and some things I can talk about, some things I can't. But I look forward to having some great conversation with these guys, and you guys as well as some good cigars. Now, my favorite cigar happens to be the La Aroma de Cuba, the Immensa. And I graduated to that cigar from a Romeo and Juliet. And
oh, wow.
When I graduated to the La Aroma de Cuba, it was a great cigar, good smoke, good aroma, good draw, and I'm a creature of habit, and I tend to want to stick to the things that I like as well. So I'm really looking forward to really smoking up some good cigars and trying something different for a change and seeing how it treats me and I treat it. So with that being said, Saddlebags.
Hey, I'm Saddlebags. Again, I'd like to thank Derek for inviting me to the podcast and all our co-hosts. I've been knowing Derek for a while. We've had some heated conversations, some fun conversations. We don't always agree, but that's what Conversation Cigars is all about. Little history. I've been smoking cigars for about 25 years. I'm in the product development, just helping people get to the next level with some of their goals they're trying to achieve. And I'm just here trying to be a part of something, and hope that y'all guys enjoy it as well. Look forward to it.
Oh yeah, you know, this conversation cigars, man, again, I met some great people. I've smoked a lot of great cigars. But speaking of great cigars, our first guest, we have a special guest who I've known for the last 3 years, and I didn't even know that he was a aficionado for cigars. Joe, who is it?
It's funny because it's kind of a common theme. I said I like to travel a lot. People look at me and say, what do you smoke? Now, ironically, a lot of people say, what do you do, Joe? You smoke $30 stick, $50 stick, $40 stick. That's what I smoke. I smoke acids. And for some reason, most people kind of like to pick on me a little bit, but this is one of the world's largest selling cigars. So other than saddlebags, maybe I'm going to try one of these and maybe get hooked on My Three Sons or some of the other products. I just keep it simple. I just a little acid puts a smile on my face. I love to have it. And, smoke what you like. That's what I like. I tried a lot of great stuff. And, I always gravitate towards the product.
Steve,
That's my story.
we have a guest today. His name is Steve Martin. Steve, come on in.
Come on, guys.
Morning, Steve.
Good morning.
Man,
How you doing?
we doing good, man.
Good. Thank you guys for having me on. It's a
So,
pleasure.
Steve, tell us about you.
So I've been in the cigar business about 25 years, since 1998. Worked all over the country. Used to have my own lounge down on the West Coast. But my passion is what drives me every day to keep doing this into my 40s. I'm a man with a family now. Grew up around a lot of cigar smokers. One of the guys that got me into cigar smoking probably got it in my head from a very young age. As a kid, I had Big Brothers and the Big Brothers and Big Sisters program, and he was an avid cigar smoker. So I think that was the first time that I was ever really introduced to not just cigars, because when I was a kid growing up, almost, I would say 1 out of every 3 or 4 men smoked cigars. It was a common thing. It wasn't anything new. But he was the one who kind of gave me a glimpse into the cigar subculture, because there's an entire subculture that goes along with cigars and cigar smoking, and there's so much to learn about it that by the time I was 17, I got into the business at 1 year under the legal limit. The guy had me in the shop just stocking stuff and pricing cigars, would never have me ring anything up. But that was when I was 17. I'm now, like I said, 42 with a family, and I'm still doing it. So.
Now, you have a company.
Yes, Perfect Cigar Sommeliers.
Okay.
You can look me up at cigarsommeliers.com. I'm also currently the manager for 2 locations of Churchill's Bistro and Cigar Bar.
Man, so for all the people who are out there who may be watching, what's one of your favorite cigars?
Right now, lately, I've been smoking a lot of the Aganorsa Leaf, La Bella de Sion, Connecticut, out of Nicaragua. Very good cigar. They have a very diverse portfolio. I don't know if you guys know, but they're also responsible for the tobaccos, the JFRs, Lunatics, Cerberus, Guardian of the Farm. So they make some very, very good, tasty cigars. So this has been one of my favorites now for several months, and I'm loving it.
You've turned me on to quite a few cigars. And really, you've never been wrong. I thought I knew a lot about cigars, but when I met you, you really turned me on to some great tasting cigars.
That's why there's so many cigars out there. There's a ton of brands out there. So people can throw their money at anything they want. Right. The most important part, you don't have to know a ton about cigars. The most important part about cigars is knowing what you like.
Right.
That's all that matters. Doesn't matter what anybody else says.
Nowadays, there are a lot of women that are smoking cigars too now.
Absolutely.
I find it very intriguing to walk in here. Sometimes it's maybe 10 to 15 women that are not because they come here for the food, but they do come here for the food, but they also come here to get a great stick.
Have good conversation.
Good conversation.
They're part of this global movement with the cigar culture. The women are finding it pleasurable too. And And that's awesome. That opens up another 51% of the market to us retailers. So we love it.
Right. I remember my first cigar that I smoked, which I thought was cute. I didn't know any better. I won't mention no names, but I thought it was cute. But over the years, I found that I love smoking triple Maduros, which just seems to be my go-to. It mellows me out. Again, with a nice shot of bourbon. I really love cigars.
Now you're talking about taste.
You know, what about you, Earl?
Well, when I smoke a cigar, I like to get a good feel from the cigar. I like to smell it a little bit. I want the aroma to say, to talk to me. I also want to be able to drink anything with it. So if I've got a cigar, it doesn't have to be bourbon. It can be tequila, it can be vodka, it can be a glass of wine. I want to be able to enjoy myself with that stick and whatever it is I bring. Then, like if I try something new, I typically try to do it at home because I want to be as comfortable as I can. You know, I want my shoes off, I want my tank top on, I want a little breeze in the air, and I just want to absorb the cigar that I'm smoking to make sure that, hey, do I want to try this again? You know, do I want to try something different? Is it a good cigar? Do I recommend it to my friends? And I think that's what's great about smoking cigars.
Okay.
You know, being able to say, hey, Saddlebags, I ran across this. It's a really good cigar. Why don't you try it? It's moderately priced. It's like I said, it doesn't have to be a $20, $30, or $40 cigar. It can be a $10 cigar and smoke this as well. So, those things kind of intrigue me a little bit. I'm still a creature of habit, though.
Right.
I still like what I like.
Right.
I will venture off at times to smoke something different. And every now and then I run into some things that are really, really good.
Right.
So,
Steve, you said you were managing places on the East Coast.
On the West Coast.
West Coast.
So I used to own a lounge out in Arizona.
So what made you marry to Churchill's? What brought you here?
Well, I actually came home back in 2015. Came back to, I'm a Detroit native, born and raised.
Alright.
Went out to Arizona, came back, sold my share of the company due to family issues back here in Michigan. So I've known the owner of Churchill's since 1998.
Okay.
And at that time,
Who's the owner of Churchill's?
Nash.
Nash.
Oh, shout out to Nash.
Mr.
Shout out to Nash.
Shout out to Nash.
We love you, brother.
And the whole crew.
That's right.
Absolutely.
But yeah, he, when I came back, actually, I came back and helped out another cigar lounge for a gentleman that I've known for a number of years, for about a year. Jumped back out of the business and actually went into the manufacturing business as a business unit supervisor for a company in Madison Heights.
Okay.
I stayed there for about 3 years, and I've always done the cigar sommelier thing. I've always done the pairing events, and I got buddies who own golf courses or clubs, hunters clubs, stuff like that, lounges, casinos, hotels, whatever it may be. But I was out of the retail business for so long that I realized how much I missed it.
Okay.
And so I started asking around, and I've made a lot of contacts over the years in this business, as anybody does that length of time. You want to make some contacts.
Absolutely.
Know people. Your arms get a little bit longer the longer you stay in. There's another widespread chain of cigar shops that was looking for a district manager, which I applied for. Ultimately, they just couldn't pay me what I needed to do what I needed to do.
Absolutely.
And I got a call the next morning from a gentleman named Ernest Yeldo. If you see this, Ernie, we love you, man. And
Shout out to Ernie. Shout out.
he gave me a call, said that he had got a call from one of the HR people at this company I had applied to. He said, this guy might work for you guys. So I came in, did an interview with Ernest, and came in for a second interview with Nash, and then Nash went back up and got reacquainted, and the rest, as they say, is history. I came here, and I went anywhere else.
Steve, I have a question. So many times, women will say, "Oh, that cigar stinks."
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you please clear up that myth. But
To me, it's like potpourri, but you know, I mean, to each their own. You know, some people it doesn't smell like flowers. To me, I love the aroma of a good cigar.
Is there really a bad smelling cigar?
One.
Better not
I
say
don't want to
yes.
say it. No, it's actually not as. It's
Okay.
a very good smelling
Okay.
cigar. I mean, let's be
Okay.
honest, they smell pretty nice.
Okay.
But no, there is one brand that I tried, and I try it once a year, every single year, just to see if I can acquire the taste for it that everybody else says that they find.
Okay.
I'm not going to say the brand, but man, I get about a third of the way through it, and I have to put it down. It's like I can't do it. I try every year because I really, it's kind of like sardines on pizza, or anchovies on pizza. Some people it takes 4 or 5 times before they're like, oh, this tastes good. All right, now I get it. Or Scotch. A lot of people start out drinking, they don't like Scotch. Scotch is an acquired taste. This cigar has just got a flavor that I can't find appealing at all. I keep trying.
Let me ask you this. What do you think about people who smoke cigars and drink wine?
I think that's fine.
Is that
I think,
fine?
Yeah, absolutely. I think pairing up a good cigar is about pairing it up with something you like.
Okay.
Martini
Just
too?
like-
With a martini too?
Absolutely.
Nah, I don't know.
Now, if you're talking about nuances that mesh,
Okay.
if you're talking about the actual pairing of a cigar with a spirit, there are certain spirits that mesh better with the flavors of certain tobaccos. So you have tobaccos in Nicaragua, Honduras, Dominican Republic, Costa Rica, Brazil now is making good filler and wrapper tobacco. There are certain nuances in each of those tobaccos that will pair better with, let's say, a bourbon of a particular type. Cognac, typically it's a darker spirit because they have some of the woodier, the dark fruit flavors that really mesh well with some of those tobaccos.
So for people who don't know, can you explain what fillers are when it comes to a cigar?
So yeah, you've got on a cigar, you have 3 different components on each cigar. You have a wrapper, which is obviously what you see on the outside.
Okay.
You have a binder, which is just beneath the wrapper.
Okay.
The binder acts as it's basically just a combustion element to ensure that the third part, the filler, is burning at the same rate as the wrapper. So that's your combustion, and the binder is the element that kind of ties the filler in with the wrapper to firmly down the length of the cigar.
So what makes a cigar a bad cigar?
If you don't like it.
I mean,
That makes
for
it a bad
instance,
cigar.
like I've heard that if it doesn't burn even,
Yeah, there's construction issues that can turn people off to a cigar. There's inconsistencies in flavor. You know, if you buy a box of cigars, I always tell people, if you're buying a box of 20 or 25 cigars, you're always going to have a cigar or two that's going to burn a little bit off because it's a handmade product after all. It's made of a bundle of leaves. You're inevitably going to have cigars that have little gaps in there. It's going to burn a little weird. But let's say you buy a box of 25 cigars and 22 cigars burns bad. And they don't taste the same from one cigar to the next. That to me is a bad cigar. That's a poorly constructed, poorly thought out, poorly blended cigar.
have you ever had a cigar that burned evenly, consistently, all the time? You ever had a?
I have, and it's not 100% of the time because, as I said, it's a handmade product. Almost every brand of cigars I've ever smoked, you get a little burn issue here and there. Like I got a little one on here, I got to touch up. It's not a bad one, it's not too bad, but I'll touch that up. But there are certain brands that do seem to be more consistent than others.
And so you prefer to, because there's 3 ways, there's a punch, a V-cut, and a straight cut. How do you prefer the
Straight cut.
straight cut?
Now that's just my own preference. I noticed
Okay.
over the last 5-6 years, a lot of people like that notch cut or that V cut, whatever you want to call it. I've always liked the straight cut because to me, I get a much fuller draw. I get a better pull on that cigar through a straight cut.
And you too?
No, that's just me.
Hey Joe.
I'm going to give you an example. D already knows the answer. I'm not here to promote acid, but I'm going to tell you a little something about acid. So you've asked me all the time to see you want to cut. Think about an acid. I don't know if the camera can show you, but all you got to do, it's got a little I call it a tip.
Tip.
It's a tip, but it's a tip. Basically, there's a little method of madness. Just kind of pull one part out, grab the tip, and just squeeze like this. And by the time you pull it out,
Okay, somebody might have just learned something. Okay.
yeah, so if you see me, there's a method of madness.
Yeah, because I see you smoking those things all the time.
And I never require one thing I did want to, not to shift from cigars, one thing I got to ask. And I wanted to ask you for a while, but I knew we'd have a chance of conversation. Cigar. I got to ask, and I love it. It's beautiful. Is it a fashion statement? Is it utilitarian? Is it like a whoopee, like a safety blanket? I got to ask about what is the saddlebag? What is
It was handed down to me, and I told the story so many times that I've been giving them. So I actually have 5 saddlebags, and so I've been carrying them for so long that one time I didn't have it and nobody recognized it. They honestly, I walked past at least 12 to 15 guys that I knew. They did not know who I was, and it's like, that's saddlebags. Let me know where the bag at. That's in the cart, man. You gotta go get it. They would not let me in.
Do you bring it to the pool?
It goes everywhere except the bedroom.
Okay.
Oh my God. You know, when I met you 15 years ago, you had a saddlebag.
I had a saddlebag.
And I was like, what's this guy carrying this damn saddlebag? And he's like, hey, this is part of me. And I always wanted to know, as Joe said, what made you start carrying a saddlebag?
When I fell in love with saddlebags, people may know the Different World. Kadeem Hardison used to carry this saddlebag.
Yes.
When I saw it, I said, man, I want that bag. And when I finally got one, it just became my trademark.
Yes.
And I've been carrying them ever since. People ask me, well, what's in the bag? My life, everything I needed inside this bag.
Steve, so is it pronounced, what is it pronounced?
Sommelier.
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 So where does that word come from?
It's actually a French word. I'm not sure where the derivative is from, but it's essentially, you have wine sommeliers who have a wealth of knowledge about wines. Not only the wines that they're serving, but where those wines come from, the seeds, to the grapes, to the wine, to the production. Everything from seed to bottle. With cigars, it's from seed to smoke.
Okay. So basically you're an expert at cigars.
I'm as expert as anybody who actually doesn't make the cigars and spend time in those fields, because I've been down to those fields, and those guys are the experts. The guys who blend these cigars, grow that tobacco, they baby that stuff, and those guys are the experts. All I do is try to give other people who want to enjoy cigars an incredible experience when they do.
What's the time frame in the fields from the planting to the growth? How long is that process?
Depends on the tobacco you're growing, but typically from the time that you have the seedlings planted in the ground, you're looking at about 3.5 to 5 months, depending on the tobacco.
Okay. And how does it go from Connecticut to Urbana to Maduro? What is
So that's all. You have different leaves that are going to give you different characteristics, different colors. Connecticut shade is obviously the original Connecticut shade is grown here. Connecticut, USA. Very popular wrapper leaf. It's typically loved for its mildness of flavor, consistency of burn, very smooth qualities. It's also one of the most expensive tobaccos to use on a cigar. It's the second or third most expensive wrapper leaf you can get in the business. So,
Which is?
Connecticut shade. Now that's Connecticut shade, but it goes all the way up to, Maduro, which Maduro, when people think Maduro, they think about strong, real heavy cigar. That's the darker leaf that you get. We also have a Connecticut broadleaf. Connecticut broadleaf is made for Maduro wrapped cigars, the darker cigars. So it's fermented a bit differently, but a lot of people don't understand that Maduro cigars, even though it's darker, is not always strong.
Okay.
There are exceptions to the rule, many exceptions to the rule.
See, I was under that impression.
Me too.
The darker,
The darker a lot of times is the darker the stronger cigar, and that's totally understandable. It's a little bolder looking when you're looking at a Maduro as opposed to this, which is a Connecticut. This is actually a medium-bodied cigar right here. There are some Maduros that I've had that are actually very mild. They're not heavy at all. It just depends on the particular tobacco that they're using on that cigar. And there are so many shades between Connecticut shade and your true Oscuro, or your very dark Maduro. It's almost black in color, like a Crayola black.
Okay.
So there's so many different shades in between. All of them have different flavors, different aromas. You get about 50 to 60% of your flavor on any one cigar from just your wrapper leaf.
Really?
Just that one leaf. So that's really where a lot of the cigar manufacturers put their focus on, is growing good wrapper.
So like I gotta ask, not that this is, I understand when someone says, hey, like you were saying earlier, a friend had, cognac. I understand that they dip a cigar. I mentioned like moonshine, I did that. You can dip that. Something that's flavored like this or something with vanilla. Do they dip the whole cigar? Is it something to do with the outer wrap?
So
How would they do something like this? Someone sit there here and put a little flavor in there, roll it out.
that's actually, a lot of that stuff is trade secrets.
Okay.
I know Jonathan Drew from Drew Estate, who's the company that makes the acid cigars. He's pretty secretive about how he infuses his cigars. Now, some cigars are infused, which is typically a process of taking the tobacco, the raw tobacco, as it's aging, and helping it into a barrel with some spices or whatever other elements they want for a certain amount of time. You bring it out after X number of days or number of months, and it's infused.
Yeah.
So would that be something like having it in a humidor, something like someone does a spearmint or a mint one? Does it matter they actually put this in there, or they put it like in a humidor and let it sit and kind of marinate on its own?
If they're making a cigar, or if they bought a cigar?
No, if they're making a cigar, do they do it sometimes beyond
I've
like?
seen guys do that.
Is that what
I've
they
seen
do?
guys do that. What they'll do, I know a few guys who've actually taken a humidification element and soaked it in bourbon or rum, put it at the bottom of a small container, and then put the cigars right in the container, seal it up, and wait for like 3 months.
Yeah, I've actually done that. I've taken cognac and infused it into my cigars. Both ends, put in the bottom of the humidor. 3 months later, it was like smoking cognac. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. Let me ask another question. You have cigars that's mixed with Nicaraguan or whatever, or a pure Dominican. Which, in your history, which do people seem to flow through? A mix from different countries, or something that's 100% from like a Dominican, a pure Dominican cigar, or something that's mixed with a Nicaraguan, Costa Rica? What, in your history, what has...
I'll tell you, certainly the most sought after cigars in the 25 years I've been doing this have actually been puros, 100% cigars. So I'm going to bring up 2 brands here because everybody knows this brand and everybody seeks them out. Padron is a 100% Nicaraguan cigar, wrapper binder filler. That's a Nicaraguan puro. The other one is a Dominican puro called Fuente
Yes,
Opus X.
absolutely.
The big thing about the Fuente Opus X is when they first put it on the market in, I believe, 95 or 96, it was the only cigar made with a 100% blend of Dominican tobaccos, meaning wrapper, binder, filler. The big deal about that is that a lot of people took Carlito and his father, you can't grow good wrapper in the Dominican Republic.
Really?
They told him, you cannot grow good wrapper, it's just not possible.
Really?
And Carlito, I've met Carlito several times, very passionate man, as was his father, and his grandfather, I would suspect. They basically said, well, F you. We're going to go ahead and put some seeds in the ground, and we're going to make this happen. They came out with now what is known as the Opus X, and it is one of the most highly sought after cigars in the world. Every year after year, and for good reason. It's an excellent cigar, very full body, lots of nuance to that cigar. They did a great job. So that's just 2 of them. But typically the ones that people go after are a puro blend, but a lot of times it'll have, like in this case, this is 100% Nicaraguan binder and filler tobacco wrapped in a Connecticut shade wrapper. So you've got a Connecticut wrapper over a puro blend. But it does seem to me that the sales are trending more towards the cigars that have at least the filler and the binder of the same region.
Absolutely.
I got 2 quick questions, let's say. First one should be easy for you. People actually have asked me this. I don't know the real answer. Cuban cigars, are they legal or are they not illegal?
They're not legal in the United States. So JFK, as a lot of people know, put an embargo on the Cuban-American trade.
Wait. So Cuban cigars are not legal?
And I was under the impression we did something to
They have
Cuba.
been legal for a
I
long
thought that-
time.
Okay,
I was under the impression last couple of years ago.
Since
Maybe.
1959, there's been a trade embargo that JFK placed on Cuba between America and the Cuban government. So you cannot legally even possess even cigars in this country.
Okay, so won't mention no names, but
It's not to say that people don't have them,
Right.
because
So
I
how
could
do-
call
so
somebody
how-
right now and have one here in 10
so
minutes.
how do you get them?
So, I mean, you can get them a number of ways. I mean, there are people who, I'm not going to say any companies because,
Right.
this is one of those things that it's such a touchy subject because a lot of us cigar smokers, not just cigar smokers, but I think a lot of people in America in general feel that this embargo needs to be lifted, and it needs to be lifted 5 years ago.
Okay.
So I just want to get that out there first and say, I've got no problem with the government. They seem wonderful.
Okay.
If people want to get the cigars, 5 minutes from Canada to folks. If they can get them all the time. There's online.
So they're legal in
that
Canada.
can get them shipped from
absolutely.
Europe. I know guys who got them shipped from Europe through discreet packaging.
Okay.
People,
Okay.
I had at one point, one of my best friends' fathers was a scout for the Major League Baseball players. We used to go down to Cuba 3-4 times a year and bring me back some presents.
Okay.
Some
But
cigars,
you
some Havana Club rum. Oh, yeah.
cannot come into Churchill's or any other establishment and buy a Cuban cigar.
Cannot buy them. No.
Okay.
We cannot import them. We cannot sell them.
Another question, you mentioned one of the issues we're talking about mental health. And then everyone here's done a great job telling us the cigar story. In my behalf, I was a cigarette smoker. Started at a real young age. Worked my way up until about 2008. Smoked probably, not proud of this, but a couple packs a day. Sometimes probably a little more. Quit in 08 and thought, what can I do? And I said, hey, I'm gonna pick up maybe cigars. And so I started off at the top of the cigars game, like Grenadiers. You can purchase it all fine establishments, such as 7-Eleven,
Right, eight cigars.
Right, Lowell and the Valero and Tobacco. But that's actually how I started. But speaking of men's health, health-wise, cigars. I know people smoke on its own. I can imagine it's not the healthiest thing, but cigarettes or cigar.
Verdict from what I've heard.
Is it cats and dogs? Is it,
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at 2 different ends of the spectrum and you're looking at overall health concerns. I'm not a doctor. But every doctor that I've had appointments with that asks me if I smoke cigarettes or I smoke cigars, I say yes to the cigars. Matter of fact, I had a checkup about a year ago because I became ill. They had to do a full checkup. Guy looked at my lungs. He noticed that I put on, I do smoke cigars on my chart. He said, I never looked at your lungs look great.
Right. Same here.
Now that's me. I think a lot of times when people become ill and they happen to be smokers, it's very, very easy for the medical field to point the finger at them.
Absolutely.
Whether it's cigars, cigarettes, pipes, but from my experience, people who smoke cigars versus people who smoke cigarettes, it seems like the health issues they may not be entirely alleviated, but they're far, far less frequent. And typically it's not people who die from smoking cigars. It's people I hear about all the time that getting lung cancer from smoking cigarettes. And like you said, smoking the lungs is probably not great.
Right.
It's not a good thing, but you don't inhale.
Don't inhale. That's the same thing I was going to say.
what I do notice when I go to lounges, I see a lot of smokers that 70, 80, 90 years old.
George Burns.
So I mean, I think George Burns was however old.
He smoked 10 to 15 cigars a day
A
for
day.
78
You know
years.
what? And that was the first person I ever saw on TV smoke a cigar. Every time we saw
Me
him
too.
live,
Me too.
You know what? And he had said, I remember listening to him and they asked him why he smokes so many cigars. He said, well, when I'm telling the joke and I forget, I light up. Take a few puffs, and I remember.
I remember somebody asking George too, saying, what do your doctors think about your cigar smoking? He says, I have no idea what that is.
well, Steve, man, I mean, you just woken up.
Thank you.
Man,
I dedicated my life to cigars, and I really enjoy it a lot.
So, with this being our first episode, I don't know if you guys noticed, one of my co-hosts granted me this fantastic microphone. I think it's pretty damn cool.
What co-host was that?
You saddlebags.
Okay.
You saddlebags.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, again, for those viewers that are out here looking, please hit that like and hit that subscribe button and the bell.
Don't forget the bell. Ding ding.
Please don't forget the bell. And again, our sponsors, Gorilla Motors out of Chicago, and my 3 sons, Ciagrs. Man, I just love the venue here, man. Even though I'm here all the time, this doesn't get old.
No.
You know, Churchill's.
It's a great spot.
And the thing I love about Churchill's is that the service is impeccable.
The best.
I don't care who the waiter is. I don't care who the bar. I've seen the bartenders come out from behind the bar and take care of the table. Your water never gets empty. I mean, like, you'll drink a gallon of water. You just drink because you want to keep drinking it. The food is impeccable. Everything I've ever had on the menu, never take it back. You'll get everything you need as well as a good cigar.
Plus, unlike some places that don't give you the cigar trays, you know, I won't.
Or get water.
But again,
And serve in plastic cups.
It's an incredible place. Like I said, I've said this again. When I think of cigars, I think of brotherhood. And we're all here today, sharing our stories, sharing our knowledge. You know, Steve, again, I didn't know you were this knowledgeable about cigars. You know, you would always steer me in the right direction of which cigar to get or try something new. I just think it's incredible. To be cigar life is incredible. You know, I used to be on the boat, cigar in my mouth. You know, during the pandemic, when churches was closed, I would FaceTime about 5 or 6 guys, and I'd be on the back of the deck and just smoking a cigar. I love smoking cigars because it brings brotherhood. It really does. On the golf course, I got a cigar in my mouth. You know, and I don't really think I've really ever had a bad cigar. But, you know, I just love cigars. I just love the cigar way of life.
And that's the biggest thing. If you enjoy it, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? If
Exactly.
you enjoy something, do it frequently, do it in good health, good spirits, with friends, with family. That's the need to be.
Man. Okay. Well, Steve, I know I've thoroughly enjoyed being on our first show.
Thanks for having me on, you guys. It's a pleasure.
I really do. And I hope you'll come back again.
Anytime. I hope you guys do great with this.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
But
So
don't
we
forget
have
to hit
great
that-
guests. We're going to do
Don't
great
forget to hit
things.
that like button and that
Like
subscribe
button
button.
and
And
the
that bell,
subscribe button.
you know, on YouTube.
We love a chance to meet you, either on camera or off camera. We'd love a chance to meet you. And it's no hold bar. Whatever everyone wants to talk about, we talk about.
I'd love to be back, you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Enjoy the rest of your morning, guys.
Appreciate it. Well, guys, hey, what you guys think? Since this is our first show, you know, I think we're going to put together a list of people who want to come on. I think that, you know, we've done great. You guys decide who you want next.
Well, hey, it's unlimited, right?
It's unlimited.
It's unlimited.
Now, what do you think the first conversation, other than cigars, what do you think we ought to talk about? Sports?
Sports, man. Hey, I got a question. What do you guys think the Lions going to do?
I'm not a big sports fan
In general.
in general. No. I mean, I'll watch it, you know, during the playoffs, you know, when it gets thick and it gets intense, but not really on a regular season. But I like to talk about financing.
Okay.
I love it, like, really your history on how you started and where it comes from and how you develop, because every business isn't successful. What is your success story? What you contributed to? Is it family? Is it what are you motivated to keep going? Legacy. You love what you do. What is your secret to your success?
I'm going to keep it short. First off, secret to anyone's success, in my opinion, gotta love what you do.
Gotta love what you do.
Gotta love what you do. I'm part of a family business. My father started a family business about almost 50 years ago. I'll be 52. I started maybe when I was about 5 years old. So when I was 5 years old, my father brought me to a family business. I started sweeping the floors, emptying cars. I started out washing cars, detailing cars, selling cars. I really didn't think that was what I wanted to do. I always loved it. I always had a lot of pride. I was not that I was a little guy, but I was 8, 9, 10 years old, and I was washing cars, and I thought I did a real good job. I had a lot of pride. I think my dad, looking back on it, I'm going to do it, what he did with me. At the end of the day, my dad would actually make me go to a typewriter back then. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have computers. We go back to the Corona or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He'd actually make me go take and type out a bill every day of every car washed, the stock number, the serial number.
At 10.
And that was probably 8, 9, 10. And what I would have to do is put that. I got paid 50 cents a car. I thought I was the highest paid guy in the place.
Absolutely.
I'd wash like 22 cars, and at the end of the day, he'd make me go to his manager. The manager would actually sign the bill. And I'd go up and they'd make a slip and they'd have me cash. I just liked the way I had pride, and I knew everyone was watching me. My dad would tell me, you're gonna have to work harder than anybody else. I thought that made perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not proud to say my kids ain't watching. I was not the best student as far as academically. I think I probably had what a lot of people have. They call, I'd say it's ADHD or one of those things. Or maybe I, too much Captain Crunch or Mountain Dew by the time it was 9 in the morning. But
Hey, I've had Captain Crunch. Okay.
So I had a hard time focusing. I was always the kind of kid that, when they read in class, not that I couldn't read, I always just read too fast. My mind was racing, but when the teacher would say, turn the page, I'd always be looking around like, look, they'd be on page like 12, I'd be on page like 6. I was not the best student. However,
You need an audio book.
What's that?
You need an audio book.
That would help me. But what I did know is that I felt, I don't want to say but I felt like I was a very good worker. I was a very hard worker. I didn't slack off. I took a lot of pride in it. I used to be my own harsh critic when I washed a car, when I detailed a car, when I lined up a car, whatever it was. I did it to the best of my ability. Just because I thought it was right. I gauged myself. Now when you're 8, 9, and your coworkers are 17, 20, 25, I kind of would be like critiquing their work. And I'd always say to myself, I think I could, I think I kind of do a better job than them. I hate to say that, but even I'm 51, 52 years old. I watch the guys at the car wash. I don't want to be a critic, but the first thing I would do, because I used to train people when I was 10, 12, 13 years old, you start at the top, grab the hose, you start at the top, the water gravity goes down, you grab clean soap, you grab a mitt, go to work your way down, do washing, don't do the wheels at the same time as the body. You want to scrape the paint, work your way down. And I just took pride in having that car look really, really right. I was a perfectionist, and not that I was critiquing and telling my counterparts at work, but it's an entry-level job. It ain't for anybody. Summer, it's hot. People don't want to go in there. That's an entry-level job. But as time went on, got in high school. I sold cameras. It's now James. I sold cameras when I was 16, 17 years old, and I enjoy cameras and photography. But I like interacting with people, the sales. I like the direct connection with people. I gave them my real opinion. I had a real casual approach. Like he's got Canon products here. Back then it's Canon, Nikon, Minolta, lot of stuff. But I would just simply take them and show them other people's pictures and just say, this is what I would buy, this is a good value for the money, this is the end up product. And I sold a lot of that product. And when I got out of my senior year of high school, I said to my dad, hey, I think one of the higher salespeople in this campus, before I go to school, I'd like to sell cars. So my first started, well, I'll tell you, I was 17 years old, and my dad said, you're too young to sell cars for me. And
your dad told you you're too young.
my dad said, you're too young for me. I don't think you should sell cars for me. I think you should go somewhere first. Once you get out of school, do that. Now, I was more of a shy kid.
Okay.
It still kind of makes me think, wow, because I was 17, getting out of high school. So he told me no. He said he wouldn't hire me. So I went to a friend of his who had a Hyundai dealer. And I sat down with him and I said, hey, I'd like to apply for a job selling cars. And he said, does your dad know you're here? And I said, yeah. I said, yeah, he wouldn't hire me. He said, well, I'm one of your dad's best friends. I got to call him. So he picked up the phone and he said to my dad, he said, Joe, I'm sitting with your kid, he wants a job selling cars. I said, Joe, I know your kid since he's 5 years old. It's your kid. That's what he said. I said, okay. And the gentleman, he was an intense character, great man. Taught me a lot. Great family friend still to this day. But he hung up that phone and he went from that nice, cool guy that I knew from him taking us to maybe a Cubs game or a Blackhawks game or something as a kid or being at birthday party. To that man turned into stone. And he sat down and looked at me, turned to stone, and he says, now you're going to work for me. I'm not your father. I'm going to give you a shot. I got 43 salesmen. You better be the hardest working salesman. You better get here before everybody else. You better leave the latest. You better not mess around. I'm giving you a shot. I want you to shave every day. I'm going to check you out every day. If your shoes ain't shine, I'm going to send you home. If your face ain't shaved, the first time I'm going to be nice. I'm going to give you a little soap and some shaving cream. He said the second time, you're going dry. And he says, I want you to press your clothes. I want you to shave and show up here to work. And at that point, I said to myself,
You were shaving at 17?
I had like that little pee. I always wanted to have something. I had that look, but the moral of this story was I was representing him, and looking back on it, like I said, lessons of my dad making me fill out an invoice and making sure I worked hard and making sure that I had a great positive attitude. And that's what I would say my family is instilling in me, is a positive attitude. But he wanted to know this was no joke, this was his business. You're going to come here, you're going to listen to the managers, you're going to work hard. And I would say at the end of that summer, I sold Hyundais.
Did you get paid?
I did get paid.
You sold your first car.
I sold my first car.
And how did you sell it? I mean, what was your pitch?
Well, they had a sales program where someone will walk in. This gentleman had 3 doors. One guy was at door 1, door 2, number 3. And you had to wait till you were door number 1. Okay, as you moved along. So if someone walked in door number 3, you'd welcome them, say hello, thank you for coming in. My name's so-and-so. I'm going to introduce you to my colleague. And you walk them there, and then they had a process. Started off the Hyundai Excel, then the GL, then the GLS, then the Sonata, then the GLS. I was trained heavily on product knowledge. The first gentleman I sold a car, it was a red Hyundai, 1989.
Okay.
XLX. The gentleman's name was, I believe it was Juan Diaz. And he worked for a factory. At an ice cream plant manufacturer. I came home, I was so darn excited, and sold the car that day.
No, wait a minute, we're missing some steps.
Yeah.
This 17-year-old kid, and you're talking to this gentleman, and you got his attention.
Yeah.
17.
Yeah.
What are you saying to him that you ended up selling him that car?
Okay. So what their process was, they trained you to show the product, and then at that point, you had different managers. So I had a really great guy. What was his name? Ray. Is it Ray Flores? Rodriguez? I forget his last name too long. But what you do is you go to the sales desk. The manager say, okay, your client now, what car do they like? It's, he likes a GL or a GLS. And he'd say, go back to the office, sit them down. And the process at that time was, you would sit with the client and you'd say, now this was a little old school, so I don't want to say things evolved, this is not the way we do business. Not that it's unscrupulous, but what you would do is you'd say, Mr. Diaz, thank you for looking at the car. Do you like this car? They'd say, yeah. If we can make this car affordable work for you, are you prepared to make a deal today? And the person would say, maybe, or yes. But in his case, I believe he said yes. So then what they did is they had you bring out a form. Now this blows my mind. You guys talking to me, walking me down memory lane. But they had a blue form, and the first thing you had to do was you had a form at the top that said partial payment.
Okay.
So what I would have to say is, Mr. Diaz, first thing before we go to make your offer on this vehicle, we're going over the vehicle, the window sticker is 8729. We also put a security system on it, done this. We put the window etching on the car, the blowers, they had you trained. The list price of this car is $11,131. Are you prepared today at this price to buy the vehicle? First, you say no. You say, well, the next part of this, we asked for a partial payment. And the pitch was, now partial payment is not a down payment. You're walking me down memory lane, but I remember it like yesterday. The partial payment is not a down payment. This partial payment that we're going to ask for cash or credit card, $500. This is going to allow me to go into my manager to say that you are serious and that you'd like to buy this car. So I'm going to ask you, would you like to handle the credit card, the cash, to show that you're serious about buying this car today? And remarkably, the person would say, they say, oh, I got 300 or I got 500 or whatever. Now that store's policy, if they said, at that time, they would say if you couldn't, they didn't have cash or a credit card, like I see your watch, they'd say, well, would you mind if I just as a gesture of good faith, this is partial payment, would you mind if I brought in your watch?
Ooh, that's $1,000 payment.
Would you mind? You're going to get it back. But all this says is, see, because if you let me offer this just in good faith, talk is talk, Mr. Diaz, but let's show them you're serious.
Wow.
And then let's give them an offer, and then they'd say, hey, don't be nervous to make a lower office. I know management would like to have this client. Let's see, and that's how. So they'd send you back and forth. And if you did need it, again, like I was younger, if it was something like I said, I'm sweating bullets saying he's saying 10,000 out the door. My manager, he's like, he's been back 17 times. Let me see, and the manager come up and say, hey, how you doing? We're real close. What about this? Well, they do what I call ham and egg, like Doc says, would you put you in a car? No, I would not even bring that. They would, what would you say if you knocked off another 100? And that was this is 32 years ago.
Right.
They sure the hell don't do it
They,
this way.
Right.
they do not that, I can get in another time how things have evolved, and it's really a beautiful way of full transparency.
Absolutely.
But you did ask me, how would a 17-year-old kid? And that's how I started, and I was fortunate enough to work in that organization that summer, the following summer.
When you came home and you sold that car and you told your dad, what did he say?
My dad was real, my dad more, check off the old block. Now I'm going to tell you another interesting story. I was 17, and our name had been out there for 20-something years, so we were already known that. I don't want to say, it'd be like a local person, like an art band. So this is just a local family business, but you do have some recognition. So the only thing my dad said when I came home from meeting from the job, he said, here's what I got to ask you to do, or this is what I'm going to tell you to do. You can't use your real name and sell cars. So naturally I had to say, why would I do that? He said, Joe, it's going to be a total distraction that when someone comes in to buy this car from a store that's not even ours, they're going to say, you're going to get distracted from taking care of the client to turn the conversation into, and then maybe, you know, my dad was also a Pontiac dealer, he was a Yugo dealer, Saab dealer, Lincoln Mercury dealer, the BMW dealer. So, you know, he didn't even want to get into that, well, maybe a Pontiac. The real deal was all about me and my wellness. He says, you need to know that you are in the world and going to succeed on your own, not because of your name. You know, you don't want to be, Frank Sinatra Jr. may be the greatest singer in the world, but they're always going to talk about Frank.
Absolutely.
And so what we want to do is want you to carve out your own thing. So they picked the name. You know, there's a tremendous amount of Chicagoans to this day that still call me. My nickname, my name was Joe Ferrari.
Joe Ferrari.
And because it was Ferrari was kind of, you know, an identifiable name that people could remember. It was kind of cool. It was catchy. I'm Italian, American, and to this day, my best friends, my co-workers, you know, a lot of clients still, what's up, Ferrari? How you doing, Ferrari? And that's actually my third son. We named him Enzo.
That's right. That's right.
My third son's name is Enzo. So I sold cars there 2 summers. I went to college here in Michigan in Midland, and then going at the end of my second year, economy turned, and my father's business was struggling. And I pulled them out of bed by the 3rd trimester and said, if the ship's going down, I'll go down with the ship. And I pulled my dad out of bed at like 3 in the morning. And I never seen my dad. My dad always been a cool character. It was a tough time. Automotive was doing a little rough. He was an up-and-comer entrepreneur, bit off probably more than he could chew. He was trying to buy some properties. He tried to start another company. The leasing was getting in. It was not successful at the time. It was going down. So the bottom line is, he said, if we go down, my dad said, I will let you leave this semester, but you got to promise me you're going to go back to school. Your mother's going to kill me. So I made that pledge, but that 6 months, I gave it all I got because I just knew we were playing for keeps. It was no joke. So I started selling cars at BMW at 19. That gentleman bought a 1989. It was a factory demo. His name was Kevin Ciagrs. I used to remember the license plate.
Wow.
I still recognize customers from 30 years ago, over 30 years, 25. I still tell them the name. I still tell them the license plate.
Wow.
Everybody is near and dear to me. And even though the last 10 years I haven't been there, I'll get calls from people that say, hey, where's Ferrari? Where's Ferrari? They don't even remember. You know, I used that name from 17 till I was 27. I used that name for 10 years professionally. Now, my parents out of high school took me to Chicago. So, you know, I was going out when I was 18, 19 to bars and restaurants. I was a salesman. I was making money. I was wearing suits. You know, it was a little loose back then. I looked a little older. I had a little, you know, 21 I got by. I got by as 21, but most of my friends who sold, they were 25, 30, so it's just kind of like I walked in, but everybody knew me as Joe Ferrari.
Joe Ferrari.
So, and that was a tough transition when I was 27 years old, because at that time I had clients who were 3-time, 4-time repeaters who were very near and dear to me, but I had a dirty little secret. So it was really, you know, talking to you about this story really walks me down memory lane. My dad put me in charge when I was 27 and a few weeks old. He made me general manager at our store, and I'm still general manager of that store. So, you know, my personal story, like I said, I'm proud of. You know, it's really my parents' business, my dad's business. You know, I was very fortunate to get the opportunity. You know, I think anyone would tell you, I couldn't have worked any harder. That being said, I played real hard too.
Absolutely.
I went out a lot. You know, I was a young kid. I was out there, doing good. But but I could not work. I poured my heart and soul in it. To this very day, I still pour my heart and soul in it. I started my own company. I'm real proud of. I've done other ventures. I love real estate. I love that people want to talk to. The things people love talking to me about is real estate. I love that. I love helping people. I don't know anything. I still learn every day. The biggest thing that I can tell people who ask me, have some confidence. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Throw yourself in it. I gave this advice to a good friend 2 days ago. His business, he's looking to grow it. And he's telling me the X, the Y's, the Z's. And I said, I got one problem with it. He said, why? I said, you've been doing this 6 years. Never once did you tell me you liked it. He goes, no, I flipping hate it.
Wow.
I said, what do you like about it? He goes, you know, I'm making good money. I said, at some point you're going to say it. Because, I said, you're asking me my advice. I said, I can only be me and give you advice. You ask me advice, I may not give you good advice. I may give you bad advice. But I give you the advice that I think that you're seeking. And in my own personal life, first and foremost, my family. My family, and that's my extended family, but as far as my wife, I love being a husband, I love being a father. That's the number one job. All this other stuff, it's a bunch of stuff. It's a bunch of stuff. When I work, as I love to work, car business, real estate, my other venture, I absolutely love it. I don't want to say it's not work, it's work, but it's work that I do truly love. So, my son's got a fascination with Elon Musk.
Yeah.
I said, Dad, one day I'm going to be richer than Elon Musk.
Oh,
You know, and I made the mistake. I said, Joe, you ain't going to be richer than Elon Musk. And my wife said, how dare you tell this kid that? You can do whatever you want to do, Joe. The sky's the limit. She's right. And I said, your mom's right. And I said, I'd love to be able to slam a basketball and do a dunk. I just can't do it. I said, Elon Musk, that's a high target, Joe. But I'm going to tell you the target I would tell you. You don't want to be the richest. Well, you do. But you want to be the happiest. And as far as, and I've had conversation with them, we get on that conversation another day. But the name of the game is you want to get up. It's not to be the richest. And you are truly rich if you have your health and you are happy. And surround yourself with good people, good conversation.
well, fellas,
Sorry to take a 1 minute answer and turn it to a 20-minute
it is
trilogy.
great. I think a great episode. Again, I want to thank our sponsors, Corella Motors of Chicago,
Little Motors.
My Three Sons Ciagrs
Three Sons
of Detroit,
Cigars.
and again, our great venue. I cannot stress this enough. Our great venues, Church's Bistro, Rose Point Woods on Mack Avenue. And again, I ask everyone to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell.
Ding, ding.
Until the next time, we'll see you. Thank you for tuning in to Conversation with Ciagrs.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching.